All right, let's try example 8.4. It says to use the data on page A6 to find a 95% confidence interval for the average weight of freshman males. So let's flip back to page A6. So I'm going to do that real quick. I think I have it tagged back here. I want freshman males. I can see my sample size right here, and we're talking the weight. So you're going to want to take time to enter all of that in your calculator real quick because you need the mean and the standard deviation. So if I were you, put the video on pause and try that on your own. And let me do that myself. And so I'm coming back to here. Okay, so this is 8.4. I see that my n is 6, and I just crunched it in. I should have this for my mean. And my standard deviation, hopefully everybody got the same thing, should be 23.906. And I want to be 95% confident. That means your alpha is 5%, right there. So that means I need to take that and divide by 2, which is 0.025. So this is the column I'm going to look at. Now remember, we were looking at the bottom of the table for 95% confidence interval if I had a big sample size, but this is tiny, so I need to actually do where you have to look at the degrees of freedom. So I'm going to look at this column, and I subtract 1. It's always n minus 1, so I'm going to be 5 degrees of freedom. So here's my table right here. I'm going to go to 5 degrees of freedom. It's 0.025, so it should be 2.571. So I'm going to write that down right here, 2.571. That way, I should have everything that I need to find my error bound. So my error bound is this value, your percentage point that you found to be 95% confident, giving that sample size. It's the standard deviation, which you found using your calculator. Sometimes I'll give that to you, sometimes I don't. All over the square root of n, which is 6. Do not round off these numbers very much, okay, until your final answer. If you crunch this in, you should get something around 25.09. That's how confident I am. This is my give or take. Okay, we're talking about weight here. So this would be my give or take about 25 pounds, 25.1 pounds, depending on how much you want to round that off. So here's where you need to write your sentence. So if I was going to write my sentence, we're talking about the weight of a college freshman male. So I am 95% confident, and you have to write this out. I am 95% confident that the average college male will weigh 175 pounds, give or take 23, and that's interesting. That's a 25, isn't it? I was like, oh my gosh, see, my eyes are getting old. Give or take 25 pounds. So make sure you either write it plus or minus 25.1 pounds when you're writing this out, or give or take 25.1 pounds, but realize that this can go either way. Now, since my sample is so small, I also need to make the statement, we have assumed that these are normally distributed, the weights. So you have to say that. We have assumed, and you have to do this if your sample size is small. We have assumed the weights, I guess I should write that in here, the weights of freshman male, and so you need to include this little extra sentence here when your weight is really small, not your weight, when your sample size is really small, are normally distributed. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do what we did given such a small sample size. So yes, add that on there.